The first time I wondered if Mara was lying to me, it was because of a piece of paper thinner than a church bulletin. I was sorting laundry on a Tuesday night, half listening to the washer clack, like it had a loose coin trapped inside. Her gray coat hung over the back of the kitchen chair, the one she always forgot to put away. It smelled like lavender softener and drain. I checked the pockets before tossing it in. Lip balm, a parking stub, then a dry cleaning receipt, crumpled at one corner. I almost threw it out. Then I saw the item line. Men's wool suit. Navy. Premium press. Not mine. I owned one suit. Black. Cheap. And still hanging in our closet with a funeral program in the pocket. I told myself it was nothing. A mistake. A co-worker's errand. People did favors. Then I saw her phone number printed under the customer name. The washer knocked hard once, and the whole kitchen went quiet. Before Mara, I thought quiet meant something was being hidden. Then I met her, and quiet became the way she touched my shoulder when she passed behind me at the sink. The way she read on the couch with one sock slipping off her heel. The way she left half-finished coffee on the windowsill because she liked the morning light there, then forgot the cup existed. We lived in a rented ranch house on the edge of Maple Ridge, where the lawns were wide and the nights got still enough to hear the furnace click on. The back steps sagged. The gutters rattled in wind. In summer, rabbits chewed Mara's herbs down to nubs, and she replanted them anyway, as if patience could shame the world into being kinder. Our wedding calendar was taped to the refrigerator with a reed tomato magnet. October was crowded with circles and arrows license appointment. Final guest count, my mother's flight, which Mara had written in her neat block letters, even after Mom changed it twice. On the kitchen table sat a box of invitations we had not mailed yet. Cream envelopes. Green ink. Our names pressed into paper that felt too expensive for people who still argued over store-brand cereal. Mara Ellison and Daniel Price. It read aloud when they arrived. She smiled over the invoice. Sounds like people with matching towels. We do have matching towels. We have 2 great owls and one. They used to be blue. That's marriage. She laughed, low and real, and leaned into me like I was strong enough to take her weight. Most days, I believed I was. I had been married once before, in my 30s, to a woman who taught me how small lies can make a man feel foolish in his own home. It didn't begin with anything dramatic. It began with deleted texts, changed explanations, little I forgot to mention moments that made me apologize for asking. By the end, I would stand in a room and feel the truth moving around me like a draft under a door. Mara knew some of that. Not all. Enough to understand why vague answers tightened my chest. She never mocked me for it. When she saw me getting tense, she would say, "Ask me straight, Daniel." And I loved her for that. She was careful in the ways that counted. She remembered birthdays, mailed sympathy cards, stuck inspection reminders on my truck dashboard. If I said my knee hurt, she came home with a brace from the drugstore and claimed it was on clearance. But she had locked rooms inside her. Not mean ones, sad ones. If talk drifted near her childhood, her face went smooth, like a shade pulled down. It was complicated, she would say, then wash up and already clean. I told myself everyone deserved privacy. So with the dry cleaning receipt on the counter and the washer knocking softly in the next room, I tried to be the man she deserved. Not suspicious, not wounded before the cut, not a man who put one strange piece of paper on trial. Outside, her forgotten coffee sat cold on the sill. From the living room, Mara called, "You okay?" I looked at October circled and read. "Yeah," I said. "Just laundry." I waited until the next morning to ask her. Maybe that was my first mistake, giving a question a whole night to grow teeth. Mara stood barefoot at the kitchen counter, hair clipped up crooked, spreading peanut butter on toast like the toast might break if she hurried. The wedding calendar hung on the fridge behind her. October, circled and read. I set the receipt beside her coffee. "Found this in your coat." She glanced down, then up at me. "Not long, just a beat too quick." "Oh," she said. "Right. I meant to throw that away." "Men's suit." "Yeah. Lena from work asked me to pick it up." Her husband's. She was swamped. It sounded ordinary enough. People did favors. People forgot receipts. I wanted it to be that simple. From Capital Cleaners? I asked. Her knife stopped against the plate. The receipt said Ridgeway Dry Clean, 2 towns over. Sorry, she said, recovering fast. Ridgeway. I always mix those places up. Why was your number on it? They needed a contact. Her voice tightened. Daniel, it was just an errand. There it was. That little door closing. Not slammed. Just pressed shut. I nodded and folded the receipt once. Okay. Before leaving, she kissed my cheek. Her hand rested on my chest for half a second. Warm and familiar. And somehow that hurt worse than if she had pulled away. For the next few days, I tried to be reasonable. I fixed the loose hinge on the linen closet, called the caterer, changed the filter in the furnace. Useful things. Same things. Things a man does instead of turning a scrap of paper into a whole ugly movie in his head. Then Thursday came. At 6:18. While I was shaking sawdust out of my work gloves on the back steps, my phone buzzed. Mara, don't wait up. Late night at the office. Love you. I stared until the screen dimmed. I typed, everything okay? Deleted it. Typed, no problem. Deleted that too. Finally I sent, okay, doctor safe. 10 minutes later, the drill died while I was hanging shelves in the spare room. The room Mara called the someday room, with a smile that always scared and softened me. I needed batteries. The closest hardware store was across town, past the business park where her office sat in a low brick building with tinted windows. I told myself I was checking on her. I told myself that all the way to the truck. Misty rain dotted the windshield, too light for the wipers to do anything but smear it. The heater blew dust and old coffee from the vents. The hardware store sign glowed orange ahead. I passed it. 1 intersection, 1 left turn, 1 slow roll past her office lot. The building had a few lights on. The parking lamps buzzed over wet blacktop. I knew her silver Civic, knew the dent above the rear wheel from a grocery cart last spring. It was there. I circled once, ashamed before I even finished doing it. Maybe she parked in back. Maybe a team dinner. Maybe he'd missed it. On the second pass, I slowed near the employee entrance. Empty spaces, yellow lines shining with rain. A janitor dragged a trash bin toward the side door. No Civic. I horn tapped behind me. I jumped and drove on. At the hardware store, I stood in aisle 7 holding the wrong batteries, reading the package 3 times. An older man in a ball cap reached around me. Excuse me, bud. Sorry, I said, stepping back like it'd been caught. I bought 2 packs I didn't need and sat in the truck while the rain ticked softly overhead. My phone stayed silent. That was the first night I stopped being a fear in my head and became something with edges. Lit white in an empty parking lot. For the next 2 weeks, I lived with my questions the way a man lives with a toothbrush. I kept my tongue away from it in public, then found it again the second the room got quiet. Mara started taking calls outside. Not every call. That would have been too simple. She still answered her sister on speaker while folding towels. Still let robocalls die. Still smiled when my mother called about wedding shoes. But sometimes her phone buzzed face down on the table, and something in her face changed. A tightening around the mouth. A glance at me that came and went too fast. I should take this, she'd say. Then she'd step into the hallway, onto the back porch, once even down the driveway in her socks, because she thought the rain had stopped. I never heard much. A low murmur. 1 word. Maybe 2. No, not tonight. Or, I understand. One night, while I was brushing my teeth, the neighbor's dog started barking. I looked through the bathroom window and saw Mara by the trash bins in her cardigan. Phone pressed to her ear. Her other arm wrapped tight across her stomach. The porch light cut her face in half. She was laughing. She was smiling like a woman hiding something sweet. She looked tired. That should have softened me. Instead, it scared me worse. I squeezed toothpaste onto my brush and saw the tube crushed from the middle again. Such a stupid thing. We had joked about it before. Me pressing from the bottom like a man with rules. Her grabbing it half asleep and ruining the whole shape. That night, looking at that dented silver tube, anger rose in me so fast I felt ashamed. I wanted one thing in the house to be straight. The next morning, while she made coffee, I saw her unlock her phone with a new code. She used to type our house number. Now her thumb moved differently. 6 digits instead of 4. I stood at the sink rinsing my mug, pretending not to see. New passcode? I asked. She didn't look up. Work made us update security. On your personal phone? It has my email on it. Right. She turned then. Daniel. What? I can hear that tone. I set the mug in the rack harder than I meant to. I just asked. And I answered. The coffee maker clicked and hissed between us. Outside, a school bus sighed to a stop at the corner. Kids shouting in the wet morning. Careless and bright. For 1 second I hated them for not knowing how easily a home could start sounding hollow. I wanted to ask whose suit it was. I wanted to ask where she had been Thursday night when her car was at the office. I wanted to ask if there was another man. But I saw myself from the outside 42, standing in my kitchen, interrogating the woman I was supposed to marry because my first marriage had left a crack in me. I had promised myself I would never become the man who checked mileage, counted minutes, demanded proof of love like receipts. So I swallowed it. Okay, I said. Mara's shoulders lowered. But not in relief. More like defeat. That evening she came home 40 minutes late. Rain speckled across her glasses. A grocery bag hooked over her wrist. I got the paper towels. She said, thanks. She leaned past me to set the bag on the counter. And I caught it. A faint smell on her sweater. Not cologne exactly. Quieter than that. Cedar maybe. Soap and wool and something clean that did not belong to me. I froze with my hand on the cabinet handle. Long day? I asked. Yeah. With work. She paused, just long enough. Mostly. The word sat down at the table with us. We ate leftovers standing up because neither of us had the energy to pretend dinner was dinner. She told me about a printer jam. I told her the truck needed an oil change. We moved around each other like polite strangers in a waiting room. Later, in bed, she fell asleep facing the window. Her phone buzzed once on the nightstand. Then again, face down. My hand moved under the blanket before I stopped it. There are moments nobody sees that decide what kind of person you are. Not speeches, not vows. Just a quiet bedroom, a sleeping woman, a locked phone, and the old wound in your chest whispering that you have a right to know. I took my hand back and pressed it against my ribs until the urge passed. Mara breathed softly beside me. I did not sleep. By Friday, the receipt had been in my wallet, so long it had gone soft at the folds. I took it out during lunch and stared at the address until the numbers blurred. Then I got in my truck and drove there before I could talk myself into being decent. The dry cleaner sat between a phone repair shop and a nail salon in a strip mall I never used. The sign was faded blue, and the bell over the door gave a tired jingle when I walked in. Warm chemical air hit me. Sharp and sweet, mixed with stark-on plastic. Behind the counter, a woman with silver hair was marking shirts with a red grease pencil. She looked up over her glasses. Can I help you? I laid the receipt down like it was evidence. I'm picking up from Mara Ellison, I said. The lie came out smoother than it should have. She reached for the slip, then paused. You have the ticket? That's it? This one's old. She tapped the date. Already picked up. My mouth went dry. Right. Sorry. She asked me to check if anything else was here. The woman's expression softened. Mara. Dark hair. Nice girl. Always polite. Always polite. Like that explained anything. Yeah. I said. That's her. She turned to the rack and slid hangers along the metal pipe. Plastic whispered. My eyes passed over blouses, uniforms, winter coats, then stopped on a dark suit jacket sealed in clear wrap. Not mine. Not anything I had ever seen hanging in our closet. The woman came back empty-handed. Nothing ready today. She comes here a lot. I asked. I tried to sound casual. I sounded like a man standing too close to an edge. Every few weeks lately, she said. Mostly suits. Suits. Men's suits. Yes, she's particular about the pressing. Says the shoulders can't get crushed. She smiled a little. Most people don't notice shoulders. Something cold opened under my ribs. A man's shoulders. A man tall enough to need special care. A man whose cologne could cling to her sweater while she stood in our kitchen talking about printer jams and wetting our SVPS. She pays cash? I asked. The smile left her face. I don't discuss customer accounts. Of course, I said quickly. Sorry. But she had already pulled a ledger closer. The old kind with carbon slip stuck under the flap. She flipped it open, and for half a second I saw Mara's name halfway down the page. Not once. Again and again. Thursday dates. Late pickups. Short notes in block letters. Navy suit. Tall man. My hand went to the counter before I knew I needed it. You all right? The woman asked. Yeah? I swallowed. Just skipped lunch. She closed the ledger. There it was. Not a kiss. Not a hotel key. Not some message I could throw on the table and demand she explain. Just ink on paper and two initials that felt like a door shutting in my face. I knew nobody with those initials at her office. Nobody she had mentioned while we brushed our teeth, folded towels, or stood in front of the fridge arguing gently over the guest list. The woman slid the receipt back. Tell Mara we can rush anything if she needs it before Monday. Monday, I repeated. She usually worries about timing. I nodded like that was normal information. Then I walked out into the strip mall glare with the bell jangling behind me. In the truck, I sat with both hands on the steering wheel. A delivery van idled nearby. A kid in a red hoodie carried iced coffees past my bumper. Life kept moving in its ordinary little lanes, while I imagined a tall man in a navy suit stepping into Mara's arms. The receipt trembled between my fingers. I folded it once, then again, and shoved it into my wallet behind the photo of us at the lake last summer. Her cheek pressed to my shoulder. My eyes closed because I thought I was safe. I made it until Sunday afternoon before the fear in my chest turned sharp. Mara sat at the dining table with the wedding invitations spread around her. Cream envelopes. Gold stickers. Her neat list of names. Rain tapped the windows. And the house smelled like lemon cleaner, the kind she used when she was anxious. She looked up when I came in from the garage. You okay? I set my wallet on the table. Her eyes flicked to it. No, I said. I'm not. The refrigerator hummed into the silence. I pulled the folded receipt from behind the lake photo in my wallet and laid it between us. The paper had a pale crease down the middle from how many times it opened it. Mara didn't touch it. I went there, I said. Her face changed. Not like someone caught. Like someone wounded in a place I couldn't see. You went to the cleaner? Yeah. Why would you do that? I gave a short laugh with nothing funny in it. Because my fiancé has been lying to me. Her mouth opened, then closed. I pointed at the receipt. A navy suit. A tall man. Initials are. Paid in cash. Multiple Thursdays. The same Thursdays you told me you were working late. Rain slid down the glass behind her. Mara, I said, and my voice broke on her name. Who is he? She looked toward the window. Her glasses had slipped down her nose. But she didn't push them back. It's not what you think. That's what people say when it is. She flinched. I hated seeing it. I hated that I kept going anyway. I have spent 3 weeks trying not to be that guy. I said, trying not to check your phone. Trying not to follow you. Trying not to turn every silence into proof. But you keep giving me locked doors and half answers. Her eyes filled. Just tell me the truth, I said. If there's someone else, say it. Don't make me feel crazy for noticing. There isn't someone else. Then, why are you lying? She pressed both hands flat on the table, wrinkling the invitation list beneath her palms. Because I didn't know how to tell you. Tell me what? She shook her head. Tears slid down fast and quiet. Mara, I can't. She whispered. Those 2 words hurt worse than any confession it imagined. I stepped back. You can't? Not like this. Then when? After the wedding? After I stand up in front of everyone and promise my life to you, while you keep another part of yours locked away? That's not fair. No, I said. Fair would been you trusting me before I had to stand in a dry cleaner pretending I was breaking in half. Her shoulders caved. For a second, she looked smaller than I'd ever seen her, surrounded by envelopes with both our names printed on them. I was going to tell you, she said. When? She didn't answer. I picked up one invitation without meaning to. Daniel and Mara. Raised in black ink. Solid. Certain. A version of us that still believed paper could make promises true. I set it down carefully. Do you love him? I asked. Her head snapped up. No. Did you sleep with him? No. Her voice came out sharp. Wounded. God? Daniel. No. Relief tried to come, but it cowed and land. There was still the suit, the cash, the calls in the hallway, the smell of another man's cologne on her sweater. Then help me understand, I said. She stared at the receipt like it might burn her. I need a little more time. I looked at her. A little more time. I repeated. I know how that sounds. Do you? She nodded, crying harder now, but still holding the line. Still choosing silence. Something inside me went quiet. I reached for my keys on the sideboard. Mara stood, and the chair scraped the floor. Where are you going? I don't know. Daniel, please. I stopped in the doorway. But I didn't turn around. I'm not leaving to punish you, I said. I'm leaving because if I stay, I'm going to say things I can't take back. Behind me, she made a small broken sound. I love you, she said. I closed my eyes. I love you too, I said. That's the problem. Then I walked out into the rain before either of us could pretend love was enough without the truth. I drove until the wipers sounded tired. When my phone buzzed, I almost threw it onto the passenger seat. Mara. I let it ring out. Then her text came through. Please come back. I'll tell you. I should have told you before. I sat in the parking lot of a closed pharmacy. Rain crawling down the windshield. Anger cooling into something heavier. A second message appeared. Not at the house. Maple Street Community Center. Room 4. If you still want the truth. Come now. I stared at it for a long time. Pride told me to go home. Pack a bag. Make her feel the silence she had given me for weeks. But some smaller, steadier part of me turned the truck around. The community center sat beside a shuttered church, low and brick, with one flickering light over the side door. Mara's gray Civic was parked crooked near the entrance. She stepped outside before I reached the door. Cream sweater, wet hair pulled back, face pale under the yellow light. She didn't look sneaky anymore. She looked worn down. Inside, the hall smelled like wet coats, old coffee, and floor wax. She led me to a small room with two plastic chairs, a folding table, and a corkboard covered in flyers for grief groups, job placement, rental help, and family mediation. On the back of one chair hung an AV suit in a clear dry cleaning bag. My stomach dropped. Whose is it? I asked. Mara folded her hands, then unfolded them. They were shaking. My father's. For a second the words made no sense. Her father was a blurred subject, a man she had reduced to half sentences. Not around. Bad choices. Complicated. I thought he lived in Arizona, I said. She gave a small, broken laugh. He tells people that sometimes. Rain tapped the narrow window. She set her phone on the table because her fingers were trembling too badly to hold it. His name is Paul. He's been at a men's shelter off Reed Avenue since January. Before that, he slept in his car. Before that, wherever someone let him stay. I looked at the suit again. Navy wool. Pressed shirt. Cheap dye with the tag still tucked behind it. He got into a transitional program, she said. They found him an interview for building maintenance at a senior complex. He didn't own anything decent, so I bought the suit used. I kept having it cleaned because he wears it to meetings, appointments, court, everything. He sweats through it when he's nervous. I whispered. Mara opened her messages and turned the screen toward me. Mara, don't bring Daniel yet if your dad isn't ready. Paul panicked after you left. He says HES ashamed. Thursday at 6 still works. Room 4. Bring the deposit if you can. Shelter won't hold the bed. The contact name was Rosa Medina. I sat down because my knees had gone soft. Mara reached into her purse and took out a worn brown wallet. From inside, she slid an old photo across the table. A little girl sat on a man's shoulders at a fair, both of them squinting in the sun. The girl had Mara's eyes and a missing front tooth. I hid that when I was 9, she said, after he disappeared. My mom threw everything else away. I picked it up carefully. The cologne? I asked. Donations from the shelter. Someone gave him a box of dress clothes and aftershave. She wiped her face with her sleeve. I know how it looked. The calls? Rosa. The shelter. Her voice cracked. Sometimes he was crying. Daniel, I didn't want you to hear him before he was ready to be seen. I wanted to feel only relieved. Instead, shame moved through me slowly, like cold water. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed, she said. Because I spent years pretending I was nothing like him. And then he called from a payphone and I went running. Because your family is kinda normal. And mine pretends people died when they embarrass us. Mara. And because I was afraid you'd look at me differently. She pressed both palms to the table. The worst part is, I believed you might. Behind the closed door, a chair scraped. A man coughed once, low and gruff. I looked toward the sound. HES here? I asked. She nodded. The navy suit swayed slightly in the draft. I was cheating on you? She said. But I lied. Over and over. I'm sorry. I looked at the little girl in the photo, holding tight to a man who had broken her heart long before I ever could. Then, I looked at Mara. I'm sorry too, I said. But this can't be how we protect each other. She nodded, crying silently. I know. For a while, neither of us moved. The truth sat between us, not clean or easy, but finally real. The door to room 4 opened a few inches, then stopped. Mara wiped her face with both sleeves, embarrassed to be seen crying, even by me. I hated that she still believed pain had to look neat before anyone could stay for it. A man stood in the doorway, thinner than it imagined, one hand gripping the frame. His beard was patchy gray. His eyes went to Mara first, then to me. This him? He asked. Mara nodded. This is Daniel. He studied me for a second, not like a threat, like he was trying to count how much damage his absence had caused. Paul, he said. I shook his hand. His palm was dry and rough, his navy suit hanging loose at the wrist. The counselor, a woman with silver hair and glasses on a chain, stepped forward. We can start whenever you're ready. Mara looked at me. I wanted to say, I'm right here, and have it be simple. But I was still hurt. The truth explained the lies. It didn't erase them. You'll wait outside, I said. Her face dropped for half a second. Then she nodded. Okay. I touched her hand. Not enough to pretend we were fine. Enough to say I hadn't left. The hallway smelled like damp carpet and burnt coffee. I sat on a bench beside a vending machine that hummed too loudly, watching a can of ginger ale tremble behind scratched plastic. Through the wall came muffled voices. Silence. Then Mara's voice breaking on a word I couldn't make out. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. For weeks, I had filled every blank with the ugliest story I knew. Some of that came from evidence. Some of it came from my first marriage, still lodged in my ribs, whispering that love was what people used while they built an exit. I hadn't followed Mara because I was calm. I followed because fear grabbed the wheel. That didn't make her lies harmless. It just made my certainty less clean. When she came out 40 minutes later, her eyes were red, but her shoulders looked lower, tired in a truthful way. Paul stayed inside with the counselor. Mara sat beside me and twisted her engagement ring until I covered her hand with mine. I told him I was angry, she said. Good. I told him I couldn't be his secret daughter anymore. The vending machine clicked, then went quiet. I nodded. And us? She stared at the carpet. I don't want to rush into a wedding while you're wondering what else I'm hiding. I don't want that either. It hurt to say. Her mouth tightened, but she didn't argue. So we postponed the wedding. Not cancelled. Postponed. We called my mother first, because she was practical in emergencies and only cried after she had written everything down. Then we found a premarital counselor with an office above a dentist, where the waiting room smelled like mint and printer paper. The first week, we sat on opposite ends of a green couch. The second week, closer, Mara practiced saying, "I'm ashamed," before shame became a locked door. I practiced asking, "What am I afraid this means?" before treating fear like proof. A month later, a new dry cleaning receipt sat in the middle of our kitchen table, flat and plain where both of us could see it. Navy suit. Paid by card. Pick up Friday. I took it in myself before Paul's interview at a warehouse on the east side, not because I trusted blindly now, not to rescue him, or Mara, or make myself the good man in the story. I did it because grown-up love is not pretending there are no shadows. It is turning on the light together, even when both of you are scared of what the room might show. On the morning of Paul's interview, Mara found me at the kitchen table with the garment bag across my knees. She stopped in the doorway, turning her loose engagement ring with her thumb. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I know." The new dry cleaning receipt sat beside my coffee. Flattened, visible. Navy suit. Pressed. Paid. Nothing hidden in a pocket. Nothing waiting to become poison. Mara touched the plastic sleeve. "Hes terrified. So are you." She gave a small laugh that broke before it became one. "Yeah. A month earlier, I would have filled that silence with accusations. I would have let my old divorce speak for me, building the worst possible story out of one thin piece of paper. I had done it before I ever gave her a chance to tell the truth. But I also remembered the hotel hallway outside the mediation room. The old carpet worn flat down the middle. The vending machine humming while I sat there with my hands locked together. Mara had gone in first. 10 minutes later she came back and asked if I would meet him. Not forgive him. Not trust him. Just meet him. That difference had started saving us. "We still going tonight?" I asked. "Counseling?" She looked tired. "I don't want to." "Me either. But yes," she said. It was the most honest our love had sounded in weeks. We postponed the wedding that afternoon. Not as punishment, but as mercy. The invitations stayed in their box. The calendar on the fridge got a new date written in pencil. We promised no more noble lies, no more guessing in the dark. At the senior complex, Paul stood near the curb in the navy suit, shoulders stiff, hair combed too carefully. He looked smaller in daylight. Mara hugged him, and he held on like the world charged by the second. I handed him the lint brush from my truck sleeve. His hand shook as he took it. "Thank you, Daniel." I didn't say we were family. I didn't say everything was fine. Trust was still learning to walk. Mara slid her fingers into mine. Openly this time. Together we watched him step through the glass doors. Love didn't feel like certainty anymore. It felt like staying in the open, with the truth between us, and nobody running.